there's still some meat on the bone on the waiver wire that we can look at. There are some promising young talent that could really help our fantasy teams if we really need it. And it's also good to deep dive these players, look at the analytics, look at the stats, look what they are about, and see whether or not they can help our fantasy teams now or in the future, or we just need to keep our eyes on them. But today we're going to be talking about Tank Dell, wide receiver of the Houston Texans. He's been one of the hot waiver wire ads of the week, and we want to take a look at him, see if he's worth our while. Is he needed? Is he not? That's why we're going over the news, the facts, the data here today. But you do need to click that subscribe button right now. Stop missing out on these deep dives because it's going to help you with the waiver wire, setting lineups, winning trades, and overall winning your fantasy league. But let's deep dive Tank Dell here. And looking at the initial stats from the last couple games played, he's only got 2 on his career. His last game was a blow-up performance, 6 catches, 72 yards, and a touchdown. Had 10 targets, made some good plays in preseason, been looking good in training camp, and was a third-round pick in this year's draft. Right now in practice, he has been dealing with a thigh injury, limiting him to be able to participate. That's something we're going to have to monitor. But we're monitoring this Texans team. We're monitoring Tank Dell. We're looking at him more for a season-long play as he's a rookie ramping up, possibly developing into something more. And what we saw from week 2 from the workload metrics was some grandiose stuff. And this was against the Colts. This was a game script we were wondering that was going to be nasty, that was going to be crazy as we had 2 rookie quarterbacks going head-to-head. And it was actually a fun one to watch. He had 10 targets and a 23.3% target share. Solid rate there. 45 routes ran, an 81.8% route participation rate. That's what I like the most because he's on the field. He's running routes. He's running routes with Bobby Woods and Nico Collins. He's getting opportunity. Even though there's competition in this offense, this is only his second game in his career, and he's already on the field getting his opportunity. 95 air yards in this game, a 23% share. He also did not run all of his snaps in the slot, as he had about 24% rate of snaps in the slot ran. So that's a good indicator that he's used on the outside. He's being moved around. He's getting a lot of opportunity. 66 snaps in this game, a 78.6% share. So a lot of workload here for Tank Dell in his second game of his career. Very encouraging. Very good to see. And then we look at the metrics here from when he was coming out of college at Houston here, G5 program, back-to-back 1,300-yard seasons, double-digit touchdown seasons. That's good to see. Going into 2022, he was on the watch list to be one of the top wide receivers in the country. He was very nuanced, very quick, getting a lot of opportunities, having a lot of big performances, creating highlights. He was a player that was on the radar as one of the top wide receivers in the country. Going into the 2022 season, he is not a player that just came up overnight. He's been doing some good things over the years. Last year, 2.54 yards per out ran. The year prior, 2.84, 11.8 ADOT on his career, 11.6 last year with the most volume he's seen with 152 targets. He can get the job done. He's got speed to get downfield a little bit. He's quick. He's wiry. He can create separation. Very nuanced. Good ball skills. Plays bigger than his size. And again, he's got those quicks to create that separation to earn those targets. Going back to the draft days, 5'8", 165, third-round pick. Matter of fact, C.J. Stroud requested that the Texans draft him. They came through with that, and now he's on the team. So really, Stroud wanted Dell. There's a report here. We saw it in training camp as we went over the clips. We covered C.J. Stroud and Dell a lot this offseason. If you want to scroll back in the archives, take a look at those. But we covered the training camp clips off and on all season long, even in minicamp. Tank Dell was doing some things here, and then we look at the athleticism here. He did not really fire at the combine, but a 4.49 40-yard dash, 6th percentile speed score. But again, when you weigh 165 pounds, it's going to be hard for you to fire in the size-adjusted speed range. You're just going to have a smaller ratio in that department. But honestly, more than fast enough to get the job done. That's all you need to know. He's more than fast enough to get the job done. Very productive in college. Deep threat in college. Can get you a good ADOT, a good yards per catch. This is what we're seeing from Tank Dell. So we got some opportunities here. Probably the most important factor here is a very nuanced player who's very assertive, getting in and out of his breaks, which allows him to create separation. And then we're looking here at the Texans. I just threw the numbers up here. They are a fast-paced team, and they're in game scripts where they have to move the pace. 23.1 seconds between snaps and 80 plays ran per game. This creates a lot of opportunity in the passing game for all the wide receivers. And not just him, but Robert Woods, Nico Collins. We're seeing these wide receivers fire left and right, and that's a good thing. They're allowing C.J. Stroud to throw the football. They're allowing him to really push up the pace, really learn, allowing him to fall on his face, allowing him to make mistakes, allowing him to learn the game, which is a good thing to see. And we're getting a 68% pass rate. That's good too. We're slinging the ball all over the yard. We're going to get some fantasy contributors from this team in the passing game, which is a good indicator for Tank Dell. And also, when you look at the schedule going forward, you know what? It's really hard to gauge here the game scripts because how the Texans are built. They're probably going to be in a lot of these shootouts, even though some of these games against typical teams wouldn't be. So we're looking at this. We got Jacksonville coming up on the road. That could be another one like that. We got Atlanta. We have a few games where they could be throwing the ball all over the yard. We got the Saints, Tampa Bay, Cincy. We got some games here that will probably be sneaky explosive too, just because how this team's built and just how they're moving the ball, how they are trying to dictate the pace here and trying to really keep up in the game script. So that's very encouraging. So one thing you can really say about Tank Dell as we look through the numbers here is he's getting a lot of opportunity. He's getting opportunity to run some routes, see some targets. You could see him being a boom-bust play off and on throughout the season, which is a good thing when you're catching him off the waiver wire, because you can just throw him in your lineup in a plus matchup, close your eyes, you might catch 20 fantasy points, you might catch 25, or you might catch 6, you don't know, but the opportunity's there, the upside's there, and you might get lucky. This is a long-term play where if you really need a wide receiver and you really need to chase some upside, this could help you out. And the schedule's not too bad to where you can see the Texans give you some good game scripts in the passing game. You need them because you need a wide receiver off waivers. You need another guy. There's not many on the waiver wire. It's really hard to replace the wide receiver position from the waiver wire spot. That's why we advocate loading up at wide receivers in your draft and hoping for the best. But here's one that can give you some splash weeks, some Will Fuller effect coming at you where you're going to get a splash game here and there and some bust games here and there. But you know what? That's what you get from the waiver wire. You're not going to see a Puka Nacua every day. This is something you're going to see. But he's a rookie. He's acclimating. He's flashing. He's doing some good things. You don't need him because you rather roll with the running backs off the waivers. You're plucking running backs. You're burning and turning them. And you're rolling with them. And you do not want to take the gamble on the volatility here because there should be some volatility. We got Nico Collins soaking up targets. We got Robert Woods there doing some things. Something happens to the offense. We start seeing some injuries, maybe to Robert Woods, maybe to Nico Collins or something like that. Expect him to see an increase in targets. We could see him see more targets throughout the year. We could see a ramp up in the back half of the year. You need to at least keep your eyes on him, even if you're not interested in him, because the targets might even increase from here. He might see more opportunities. He might see more consistency. We don't know. We're only 2 games in. We don't have that many trends to look at. But the one thing we do know is the Texans are throwing the ball, and they're not going to be in game scripts where they're ahead by 20 points in many games. So you need to be paying attention to this team, paying attention to the flow of the offense, paying attention to Tank Dell and company. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about that. Hit that subscribe button. Stop missing out. Catch you in the next video.